We obviously treat the person themselves with tremendous covet. We're extremely careful. In fact, yesterday I was privileged to spend this past Shabbos as a scholar in residence. And one of the questions that came up at the lecture I gave Friday night, which was kind of an open discussion, was a more informal setting. And someone asked me about the minhag of Hashkava, putting a body on the floor. And they said there's a minhag among Sephardic Jews, there used to be a minhag of Sephardic Jews, that they actually used to kind of drop them a little bit. I don't think it meant from up high, but maybe as they were putting them down, just a little bit harder than maybe they would otherwise, a little bit less gentle. I don't know that that is, but certainly one of the reasons that we place a person on the floor is because it's similar to the worst possible form of capital punishment that was meted out years ago, and therefore if they were deserving of something that was terrible, they would have already paid the price in this world. Okay, it was similar to stoning, so they would put them on the floor, which was made of stone in those days, or certainly marble and so on. And the question that he asked me, is this an appropriate minhag to drop somebody on the floor? So I answered him, I said, I'm not familiar with anyone who does it today, even in the Sephardic community, and I'm not sure that it was ever done exactly like that. But there is a minhag to place a body on the floor. The reason is not only that, the main purpose is to keep the body as cool as possible. Years ago there was no refrigeration. Sometimes it took time. Lying in a bed is very warm, and they had no air conditioning, okay? And therefore, the main reason that is brought why we put a person on the floor is because that is the coolest place in the room. Not just that it's a stone floor which is cold, but heat rises, and the floor is where it's coolest. But there is also a secondary reason that we mentioned before. So there are many reasons. There are other reasons as well. Reasons that have to do with tumah and tahara, with maintaining purity, and so on and so forth. But the point I said to him was, I told him a story. I said, there's a well-known story about a person, a man in Detroit, Michigan, who left a will recently, not very recently, probably about 25 years ago, judging by the person who answered the question, who's already not with us for about 10 years. But the point is, he left a will asking that he be dropped on the floor. I guess he saw the same minhag that this person was talking about, and he wanted that when he passes away, they should, not from up here, but, drop him a little bit, so that he would go through this process. And they asked Rav Bakst, who is the posek in Detroit, should they do this? He said he can't allow it. He says it's not the minhag that we follow. He said, but he suggested that since this was the man's wish, he said when you're doing the tahara, maybe when you're holding the hand at one point, to me, I always remember that because I always think that when Chas v'Sholom are in the tahara room and you're a little less careful, it's almost like skila, it's like it just gave me a certain insight into how he viewed how important it is to treat the person with covet. So it's not that we should think that Chas v'Sholom we drop a hand in the tahara room, we just stone the person, but it certainly is something that we should recognize.